Welcome everyone to episode 63 of Disney with the Ducks. Tonight, you've got your host, John Krull, and my awesome co-hosts here with me, Jody B.
Hi, friends.
We've got Gene, the Gene Pool.
Howdy, everybody.
And Kevin.
Hey, guys.
So, hey, it's great seeing you guys tonight. I'm really excited. But before we get into the show, just like normal, we want to ask a question just to kind of get to know each other a little better. And so our listeners can get to know us better. Tonight's question is, what is your favorite time of year to travel? When do you really just need to get out of your house and go somewhere fun? Gene, let's start with you.
Yeah. So we love to travel. We like to travel every chance we get. I love the beach. And so, the summer would not be a summer without a beach trip. We've got a pool. My kids stayed in the water, all their lives, the whole summer. But there's just something about going away, going to the beach, usually getting together with family. And it's just a good time. But that's not the only time I like to travel. So I'm not going to cheat like some of y'all do sometimes and give more than one answer. I'm going to stick with summer.
I think he's talking about you, Kevin. Jeez. But all right, so summer, that's a good time, especially, you don't want to go to the beach in the winter when the water's cold, right? So that's perfect. Kevin, when does your family like to get out and get away from home?
So our favorite is right when the leaves are changing in the fall, especially in Tennessee. If we're doing like a short trip over to East Tennessee up in the mountains, looking at the leaves changing, driving, even down south, because we'll visit family down in Florida whenever we go out of town, or up in my parents' neck of the woods in Kentucky. Either direction you go, you get into the hills and the mountains and, in Chattanooga area and all that, and you really get to see the leaves changing. And, that's really, it's fun to drive through that whenever you can see for miles and miles and miles. And it's just, really relaxing, and it's not too hot, and we're usually going south, so it's a little bit warmer. So that's our favorite time.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have a similar thing up north. Once you get a few hours north of Detroit, it's awesome that time of year. It's just, everything looks so pretty, but it seems like it's only for a couple of weeks up here and then it's done, right? It goes from everything's green and beautiful to the cool fall colors, and then bam, it's winter for 6 months.
Yeah, our fall this year did that, and we had a big windstorm, and it just like wiped out all the pretty leaves.
Yeah.
So that kind of sucked. But
yeah, that's a bummer, man. All right, Jody, what about you guys? When do you like to get out?
If I had my druthers, I would like to leave the end of January, early February, because that's when I'm over winter here. I'm tired of gray. I'm tired of snow and slush and ice and I just want to see some color. But unfortunately, kids are in school and it's not a great time to travel. My parents go out of town every year during that time of year, and they're smart. They just get out of Dodge and they don't come back for a while. So that's when I would like to travel. But really, when we travel now is completely, we're handcuffed to kids' school schedules. So when they're able to travel means that's when we travel.
Yeah, we're kind of the same way too. Typically we love midwinter break, which up here we get usually a week in mid-February, and it almost always aligns with Princess Weekend, which is awesome because I've got to run the 5Ks with my kids a few times, run the half. It's a really good time to get out. But Jody, kind of the same thing as you. I'm just sick of the cold weather at that point. Like usually lately, December's been a pretty mild month for us here, and you've got Christmas and then you've got New Year's and all the bowl games. So there's a lot of fun stuff going on. But then once you get past that, it's just cold here. And a lot of times it's, we'll get snow, but it'll be that hard, icy snow that's just too cold to have fun in with the kids. So you're just trapped in your house. So usually by mid-February, we are itching to get out and usually go down to Disney. But this year we skipped the mid-February trip and we went down for spring break. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight is the Krull family spring break chaos extravaganza of 2023. So just a little background on our trip. Originally, So I think most of our listeners probably know, but my wife passed away on March 1st after fighting cancer for a year. And one of the things, we talked about leading up to the end with her was we had this Disney and Universal trip booked. And she told me and my older daughter she would haunt us if we didn't go. So she was very much of the opinion that we had to keep living life and have fun with the kids and all that kind of stuff. So we packed our bags and we headed down to Florida. So our original
Wait, wait,
plan
wait.
was
You didn't
what?
just go straight to Florida.
Well, no, we're gonna
Yeah,
get there. We're
road
gonna get
trip.
there. There was a lot of fun stops on the way. But our original plan was my wife and her mom and our baby Crosby, who, if you're watching, he's also helping host the show tonight with all of us. They were going to fly down, and then I was going to drive down with the older 4 kids and all of our stuff. And we were going to do Universal for a few days and then have my mother-in-law and wife and the baby meet us at Disney a couple days later. But after Katie passed away, just decided I was going to drive down with all the kids. My mother-in-law would fly down and meet us down there. So yeah, we can start getting into it. I mean, we left Detroit on a Wednesday, and we stopped and saw some of our favorite friends. We got to see Jody and Tim and your wonderful children, and it was just super fun. We grilled and just hung out, and I think everybody might have seen the show come out this week that had our kids answering questions. So Landon and Lindsay and Caleb, Kara, Carly, Chelsea. Crosby didn't really answer much, but he made a lot of noise. So I'm sure Jeff had fun with editing that. But yeah, so that was awesome because it just worked out that we were able to leave a little bit earlier that day and get down and see you guys.
It was so fun to host you all, and bribing Crosby to let me hold him by bribing him with watermelon, because that was the only way he would let me hold him. But it was fun to hear. So if you haven't listened to that episode, it was episode 61. John and I asked the kids a bunch of questions and just let them answer. And it was just super sweet and cute. And I know it's a moment of time that we'll probably treasure because they're only that age, that time in that moment. And their answers were just pretty sweet and it pretty funny too. I said it was a little bit like herding cats a couple times, but we had fun with it. So I hope everybody enjoyed that because we giggled through it. So
Yeah, it was so fun. It was just nice to see you guys and hang out for a little bit because we don't really get to see each other in person much, except a couple of race weekends and that type of thing. But so yeah, it was awesome, and it gave us a little bit of break to get out of the car for a while too. Because that night we drove from Detroit to Lexington, Kentucky, which is about a 6-hour drive for us. And Cincinnati was 4.5 hours from our house or so. So it was a perfect point to just kind of get out, hang out with some folks, and just have some fun.
run around the backyard, build fairy
Yeah.
princess houses. That's what the girls did, and thank goodness it was a nice day that they could run around. It was chilly, but at least it wasn't raining.
Yeah, exactly. It was perfect weather because when we were the week before that, we had cold weather and rain and snow and everything else here. So it was perfect. So yeah, so that was day one. The next day we drove from Lexington down to Lake City, Florida, which was about 14 or 15 hours for us, with stops and everything.
14 to 15 hours with you
Yeah.
in the car
And
with
5
all
children.
5 children.
What kind of
Yeah.
car?
So we have a Chevy Traverse. So it's got 2 front seats, 2 middle seats, and then 3 in the back. So Kara would mostly sit up front with me. The Caleb and Carly would argue about who got the other middle seat in the second row, and then Crosby's car seat, and then all the way in the back would be usually Chelsea and one of the other 2 kids. So it was, I mean, they had enough room. We have a luggage rack that attaches to the trailer hitch, and then we have a tool roof cargo carrier box. So between all that, we had enough space where we could put pretty much everything in one of those areas and not have too much stuff in the car other than our snacks, which, I mean, with 6 of us and me being a big man, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of snacks.
Yeah.
But it was great because we would stop at grocery stores along the way, like Publix and stuff, and just pick up fun things. We stopped at Buc-ee's and just bought a ton of beaver nuggets and a whole lot of nuts. I mean, I have never had so many nuts in my life because they just have a wall of them. It was amazing.
Jerky wall, man. I went to Buc-ee's twice this last week, like 3 times this last week. It's so great. Just going back and forth to Dallas for stuff.
What did you get?
Well, they have a wall of jerky. Yeah,
Oh,
and the cleanest bathrooms. They have the signs. The signs. Those of you that don't know Bucky's, they have the signs that say things like "You're throwing a weights" and "Risk it for the brisket" and fun stuff like that. I had a barbecue sandwich Sunday afternoon. It's great.
The jerky wall is pretty awesome.
That's one of my favorite places to stop on a road trip. My wife Heather believes that it's responsible for giving me coronavirus because it was so bad. But I don't care. I'm still going to stop there every time I go because it's an experience. That's for sure. You can buy a deer stand, a bag of jerky, and use the cleanest restrooms on the face of the planet.
Fire pit, sunglasses, whatever.
And Bucky's, if you would like to sponsor our show, you may reach us at.
And send me a blanket, Bucky's, because I bought one of those $15 blankets, and it's pretty awesome. It's very comfortable.
Did the kids get to see the dressed up Bucky? Did he come
No,
out?
he wasn't there. My kids were not as big of fans of Bucky's as I was.
Yeah.
They just thought it was weird because we walked in and there was a guy.
Their shopping carts.
Yeah, there was a guy at the door going, "Welcome to Bucky's, y'all," and it freaked my older daughter out. So after that, they were kind of like, let's not. So I'm gonna have to take a solo trip down to Disney just so I can hit all the Bucky's on the way.
So, John, just for reference, you were traveling in March, correct? This was the end of March.
Yes, we left end of March we came back on Easter Sunday.
Okay.
So yeah, it was about a week and a half,
Okay.
end of March into the beginning of April.
Okay. Just I knew we were talking about dates, but I wanted to make sure for timeline purposes we talked about what month because that's pretty interesting about your weather and what you experienced when you were there. So I want to make sure that we have that time stamped correctly.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like on the way down, the weather was perfect. It was, through Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia. It was, mid 70s and sunny. So we had the windows down. We actually blew out the speakers on my car because we were rocking out to some Taylor Swift with the windows down.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in the car for that long with a bunch of kids, you got to sing and dance and just have a good time. So we did that, and then we got to Lake City around, I don't know, 12:30 or something at night, slept for a little bit. And then the next Friday morning, we headed into Orlando and got to Universal. Our room was ready at like 11:30 or so. It was crazy. Just amazing. We were planning on just dropping our stuff off and going to City Walk and getting it later when our room was ready, but our room was ready when we got there. So so we got a little break, got out of the car and just kind of hung out in the room, put stuff away. And then we headed over to City Walk.
Where did you stay at Universal? Which resort?
We stayed at Royal Pacific.
And that's the one that's kind of got a kind of Polynesian type feel.
Yeah. It's like, honestly, I would say it's like the Marriott version of the Polynesian. Like the theming wasn't as good as the Polynesian, but it was trying to be, but it was like a little bit more business travel-y. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. So it was more like, more like a nice Marriott would be, if that got together with the Poly and they had a baby.
Did you get
Poly's your favorite, right? So I mean,
Poly is my favorite.
Anything that's going to impersonate, be a knockoff, whatever, has got big shoes to fill in your mind, right?
Right. So it was already at a disadvantage, but it was a really nice resort. The rooms were great, but we just, it wasn't the same as being at Disney. But what's awesome about Universal is we were able to walk from there to City Walk, which is kind of their Disney Springs area with all the bars and restaurants and shops. And from there, you're right next to both parks. So, it was maybe a 10-minute walk to get to dinners, to the parks, to everything. So that was really cool. And then staying at their premier resorts, you get the unlimited express pass included. So that was really helpful, especially during spring break.
Yeah.
So that first day, I'm a huge Jimmy Buffett fan. So I'd consider myself a bit of a parrot head. So I made the kids go to Margaritaville and we had fun. We had, a good meal. We got to sit outside and the kids were nuts because we had been in the car for 3 straight days, but it was just fun being there. Like I went a little nuts in the gift shop and we had a good time. And then we were able to get the kids wands. So instead of going to Ollivander's and waiting in line and everything else at the parks, you can get the interactive wands at the Universal store in City Walk. So we decided to do that after we got kind of our late lunch. So we just didn't want to waste the time at the park doing it. But they do all the same things. They interact and everything. It's just you don't have the experience of being in Ollivanders. But it worked out good for us. So the kids all found the characters they wanted, which was awesome. And then, yeah, we went back to the hotel that night after kind of having lunch and walking around a little, and we just kind of watched TV and went to bed. And then, so Saturdays when we actually went to Universal Parks. So the main reason we wanted to go to Universal Parks, we love Harry Potter, and we've never been to Universal. So that was really cool because we got in early. So we ran to the Hagrid's ride, and that thing was one of the coolest rides I think I've ever been on anywhere. It was a little too intense for my children, but for me, it was just amazing. I can't like say enough good things about it. That made it worth going to Universal right there.
I was texting John the whole time, like, where are you? Where are you in line? What did you think? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and it was awesome. I would definitely do it again. I would probably even wait in like a 2-hour line for that.
Wow.
And for us, you know, we got there, so we got the early admission. That one, the Express Pass isn't good on, but if you get in early enough and go right to that ride, I think we only waited about a half hour or so. It wasn't bad at all. And we got to the park about 20 minutes before it opened. So, you know, you figure we probably waited about an hour total between waiting for the park to open and then waiting for the ride. But yeah, it was great. And then coming off the ride, we got butterbeer, which is so much better than in the bottles, because we've got the bottles at the stores in New York and then the Harry Potter Experience store in Chicago. And it's just it's not the same. The butterbeer at the park. Yeah. And I got the frozen one and my kids got the regular one. And so I got both because they can't drink the giant. So it worked out perfect for me. And yeah, so that was awesome. That foam on top. Whew.
Hey, John, I was gonna, you know, we went to Universal last year for Cheer when we went to Disney as well. And my experience was that whatever the time said, it was going to be about 2/3 of that. The times they overestimated, you know, and that's good. So you see whatever the time you see, it was always less than that. And so that was just good. It didn't tell you it was 30 minutes and it ended up being 50 minutes or an hour. They tell you it was 50 minutes and it ends up being 30 or something like that. You know, it was great.
Yeah, and we noticed that too, because a lot of with the Express Pass, even they tell you have to wait up to half of the posted time. So, you know, for like Gringotts, the posted time was an hour and a half. I honestly, I don't think I waited more than 20 minutes for the Escape from Gringotts ride, which was really good.
Which ride is that?
So that's the one in Diagon Alley with the dragon on top that breathes fire. And then it's the one that goes, it's kind of like a train through the vaults of the bank. So when you're walking in, you see the goblins who are the bankers, and that freaked so I tried to take my girls on that ride and they got freaked out. So they just were like, nope, we're out.
Those goblins are pretty freaky.
Yeah. So luckily they let me walk them back out so I could meet up with my older daughter, and then they just let me right back in line where I was after I dropped off the 2 little girls. So that was nice. You know, overall though, with Universal, we really liked the Harry Potter areas. They were amazing, but there wasn't a ton of rides for little kids. Everything was just much more intense, and you know, the theming of the park isn't quite as good once you're outside of that area, the Harry Potter stuff. But we did do both parks. So we took the train from King's Cross Station. Shoot, I'm messing this up. From Hogsmeade to King's Cross Station at Diagon Alley. So we took the train only one way, but that was really cool. That's just a fun experience. So if you're ever there and you have the park to park pass, I would definitely recommend taking the train, because it's such a cool experience. It looks just like the movie.
Yeah,
it's really neat.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, so we started at Islands of Adventure, like I said, with the Hagrid's ride. My kids, all of them, love the Dr. Seuss area. Even like Caleb and Kara really enjoyed it. So we did a few rides over there, like the carousel, and there was a Cat in the Hat ride that my kids went on, but I couldn't because Crosby couldn't go on it. So all my other kids were super excited. So I let them go. But then we headed over to we did the Amazing Spider-Man ride, and I loved that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a
Nice.
Spider-Man fan, and I love all things Spider-Man. But yeah, so that was I already went into it thinking I was going to like it, and it surpassed my expectations.
Yeah.
It was so cool because they used like screens, they used movement. It wasn't just a ride. It was really neat. So
I
that
feel
was
like
really
that
fun.
car is a little bit like Dinosaur, you know?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. It's a
I
little
mean,
bit like
that's
jerky in a way almost
yeah.
too,
Or I feel like
which
Dinosaur is kind of jerky. That's
yeah.
the only part of that. Like, I feel like I'm a little beat up after that ride.
So you know what?
Yeah.
You know what? It's some of the. It's not the same exact technology, but there's some similarities to Rise of the Resistance and
Oh, yeah.
Ratatouille and Mickey and Minnie, whatever. Because you're in
Also,
the car.
all
You're in the car that moves. There's the practical effects, and then there's the the movie. Not there's the screen effects, and so it combines all those things. It's similar to that. There's a holographic effect.
Yeah, and they have like real fire come at you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was just so cool. But I went on it with Caleb, and it was a bit too intense for him, so he was kind of done after that.
What's a trackless coaster?
It's a coast. I can't remember if it has a track, to be honest.
I don't remember.
I'm trying to think. I think it does because I think it's like a little bit older technology than something like Ratatouille or Mickey and Minnie's and
Yeah.
Rise. But yeah, so we did that, and then we pretty much after that we headed back to our hotel. So that took us till I don't know 3 o'clock or so. So I mean, we were there quite a while from 7:30 till about 2:30, 3 o'clock. So the kids were kind of run down. It was hot. It was the whole trip was about 90 to 95 and sunny and humid. So we had to take some breaks and stuff more than we usually do. But yeah, we went back to the hotel. Kara and I. So the one thing with Universal, if you have food allergies, it's not nearly as easy as Disney. We really couldn't find any safe food that wasn't snacks, popcorn, peanuts, things like that. So we went back to the hotel. We went in the pool for a little bit, which was really nice. But they don't have slides. So but it was a big pool and they had volleyball set up and it was just they kept the water temperature at a nice 83 degrees, which was wonderful. So that was a plus. But yeah, so we did that and then we actually went over to the Poly for dinner. So
Oh, nice.
it was getting close to dinner time and our whole family loves the Polynesian. So we decided we were going to go to Captain Cook's for dinner. And I got my amazing Thai meatballs and got the kids whatever they get from their chicken fingers or something. I don't know. They never get anything real exciting. But then we were able to get Dole Whips and just kind of sit on that little fake grass area by the pool and eat dinner and talk and play. So that was awesome. So that was really cool. And then
Did they let
after
you
that,
in the Poly without having an ADR?
yeah. So I showed him I did a mobile order. And so I pulled up, I showed the guard my mobile order and just had to show my ID and that was it. And they let us in. Which I was honestly, Jody, I was a little nervous about that because I know in the past on busy occasions, even if you have a mobile order, they sometimes would not let you in to park there. So, that was really good how it worked out.
Good.
And it was kind of a theme of the trip. Like everything just worked out our way. It was really cool. So yeah, so then that night we went back to Universal and kind of got everything packed up in the room. And the next morning, so this is now going into Sunday morning, we checked out of Universal and we headed over to Tampa area because so Katie and I after school lived in St. Petersburg, Florida, for about a year, and there was some beaches there that we just loved. So we loved Indian Rocks Beach, which is just south of Clearwater. It's busy, but not quite as busy as Clearwater. And there's some fun bars and restaurants and stuff there. But that's where we decided we were going to spread some of Katie's ashes. So we went to the beach. And even that, so the parking was insane. There was literally people getting in fights over parking spots. Some 16-year-old kid was holding a spot for his parents who had dropped off his other siblings, and some other guy tried to pull in, threatened to run him over. I've never seen anything like it. But for us, we pulled in there and there just happened to be some dude walking out, and I asked him if he's leaving. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm about 5 spots that way." And just he got in, left. I pulled right in. We didn't even have to wait. It was, I don't know, somebody was looking out for us. So Yeah, and then we just spent the whole day playing in the water and on the beach and everything else. So it was that was awesome because my kids just we've never been a beach family, but I think after that we're definitely going to start going
So
to some of the beaches more.
have your kids gotten to go to that beach before? Have y'all been there before?
We we had taken a few of them. I can't remember how many of them were born, but we went over there before on one of our trips and showed them like our old apartment and the
That's cool.
beaches. Yeah, so it was pretty neat. So yeah, it's such a nice area. I just really like it over there. So yeah, so we stayed there probably, we were there from like 11 to maybe 4, and then headed back to Disney and checked into our we were staying at Copper Creek Villas, which is part of Wilderness Lodge Resort. So it's that's one of our favorite places. After the Polynesian, I think that's
Nice.
definitely up there. So yeah, so it was just a fun day in general. But my mother-in-law was supposed to be flying in that afternoon and her flight got canceled. So yeah,
Mm.
so she didn't end up coming in until Monday night. But it worked out because, we got into our hotel room, checked in, all that stuff, went to Disney Springs, and that was just fun. We walked around, we did some shopping, went to Deluxe Burger. Um, we went to Ron John's surf shop, which I'd never been to, but my 13-year-old Kara, she really wanted to go there, and they have really reasonably priced like shirts and shorts and hats, all kind of fun stuff. So yeah, so that was a good night.
So, John, with Deluxe Burger, were they able to accommodate you with your various allergies and such? Because
Yeah,
quick service, it's a little bit different than a table service.
yeah, and that's the thing. So with Disney, pretty much everywhere can accommodate you very well. Like I don't think either Kara or I have ever got sick from gluten there. Which is pretty impressive because I mean we go a lot, right, and we always eat out when we're there. So yeah, it was great. I had like a regular burger. Kara got like a veggie burger, and then the rest of the kids got whatever kids get, like chicken sandwiches or something. I don't know, but but yeah, I love Deluxe Burger. It's one of my favorite places because I don't eat meat at home because nobody else in my house does. So when I go there, I'm like, yes, I can get a burger. And yeah. So it was fun. Disney Springs was packed at night, but it really it didn't the crowds didn't bother us there. Everybody was in a good mood. So it was pretty awesome. And then we just went back to the hotel. We got back pretty late. But we wanted to get to sleep so we could start off early on Monday morning. So
And,
yeah.
and where did you go Monday morning?
So Monday we went to Epcot. So Epcot is our favorite park, and they had the festival going on, the Flower and Garden Festival. So I think we
What is it
talked
called, Gene?
Say again.
What is that festival called?
the butterfly and wine.
Yeah, no, it's food butterfly. Butterfly garden. One of them. I think they change it back and forth every year.
It's on rotation.
So so with that, one of my goals of the trip, my only goal of the trip was to ride Guardians. So I got boarding group 47, and it ended up getting called at 11:04. So that was pretty awesome that I was able to do it and get in early enough where I didn't have to worry about if the kids were freaking out from the heat or anything like that. So that was perfect. And my song was "Ran So Far Away" by Duran Duran.
Park the City.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so it was pretty cool. Like I don't know, I loved it. I thought it was
That's not Duran Duran.
I could listen to that song all over and over again. But then the ride itself and the way they use the screens and the movement, and I just didn't expect it.
Did all your
So
kids get to go with? Like, I mean, not all of your kids, but did you
no,
get a reservation
uh,
for?
three of them, no, two of them waited in line with me for a few minutes and then got freaked out and decided not to do it. So
Really?
yeah, so I just did it by
Just
myself.
you were by yourself? Okay.
Yeah, and it was amazing. If
It's
we
cool.
if we could have gotten more time in the park, I would have done it again. But it just the way the wait worked and stuff. I think it was maybe 40 minutes or so I had to wait. So it wasn't too bad, to be honest.
You went
But
through the normal queue, I guess.
yeah, you go through the normal queue when they call your number or whatever. But yeah, so it was not bad. But yeah, that day though, we got to the park at 9:30, so we slept in a little bit, which we never do on vacation. but I woke up in the morning and the kids were all sleeping, and I knew we had had a long couple days, so I just let them sleep until they woke up, and then we packed everybody up, got to the park, and it was nice not having the stress of, oh, we have an ADR for breakfast, and now we have to get to the park because we have to rope drop Frozen and blah blah blah. So it worked out really well. I think sleeping in a little bit and getting in the park a little later, because the main reason we were going was for Guardians and for the food booths. So the food booths were amazing, but we got there. The butterflies were awesome too.
Okay.
Yeah, we always go in that butterfly tent. It is so fun. Plus, they have like the little cocoons, and you can see them kind of I don't know what it's called, hatching or metamorphosizing, whatever that is that they do. Whatever the butterflies do to turn into a butterfly. So that was always fun. But me and Carly, I think we've talked a lot on here. Me and Carly both love Figment. So we made sure we did Journey into the Imagination. And that one, it actually had a very short line. It was, I don't know, 10 minutes or something.
I should do that sometime. I've never done it.
Oh my God. It's cheesy, but it's such a cute ride.
I love it.
I do too.
Well, I mean, as much as like Kevin, that's Kevin's jam. And, and obviously you love it. And so does everybody, but it's one of those that I haven't experienced ever, because we're always making a beeline for trying to get stuff done. But it's one that I want to do just because of you guys. You talk about it all the time.
Yeah, it's one of those ones, like me and my 7-year-old Carly, we have to ride it every trip.
Mm-hmm.
And some trips we try to ride it as many times as we can. So yeah. So, beyond that, we didn't do any other rides that day. We pretty much just walked around and ate food, and I had some of the drinks. So, we went to the farmer's feast.
So
go ahead.
You went around to the booths, right? And you got a bunch of kids with you.
Yeah.
That like chicken nuggets and stuff like that. So
yeah. So it was mostly just me and Kara eating stuff from the booths. So my daughter Kara, she's 13. She's kind of a foodie. So she got a lot of stuff. But I mean, like, there was a chilled potato leek soup and a ghost pepper Bloody Mary at the farmer's feast. Those were both delicious.
Kara loved them.
Yeah,
Jody
Kara liked the soup too. She did not have the ghost pepper.
I was wondering if your kids had the margarita too, but I didn't know. I mean,
no. Yeah, they're not quite of age yet, but soon. But yeah, no, that was like I was a little nervous about a chilled potato leek soup. It doesn't sound that great, but it was really good, especially given it was 95 and humid. I probably would have died had I had a hot soup. But then we went to Northern Blue. So in Canada, I finally tried the maple popcorn, and it was so amazing. Yeah. I mean, and the weird thing is Kara doesn't even like maple syrup at all, but she loved it. So we bought the refillable popcorn bucket for the first time, and we hit that place probably 4 times a day.
You have to be careful with those. People get
crazy.
Socially transmitted diseases.
Oh, well, yeah. No, we were
from
very
regular popcorn, Gene, not from Canadian popcorn.
We live 30 minutes from Canada, so we felt like we were home.
Kevin, I couldn't understand you. What did you say?
It was the one right by Guardians, right next to the area right before you walk out of the. Yeah.
You don't want to eat at that one, no.
Mm-hmm.
Not until you wash your hands.
Well, that's good practice anyway at Disney, because you touch so many things.
The stealthy germs. What I love is the germs they're smart germs. They're stealthy. They don't get you till like they get one person one day, and then those same germs get the next person the next day.
What was that movie with Denzel Washington where the
Equalizer?
Yeah, I
It wasn't
don't
Equalizer.
remember what it was called, but it would possess a different person each day.
That's what that was. It felt possessed.
Luckily, we avoided that. So I don't know if you and Lonnie just took it all, which if you did, thank you, because there wasn't any left for us. But no, we were good with not getting sick.
I thought I had the Ebola virus. I didn't know what was going on.
I mean, just all the food was so good at the booths. I got seared scallops in Canada with a maple popcorn shake that had whiskey in it. I got it 2 or 3 times on our trip because it was so good. Well, I mean, I love maple, I love whiskey, and I love ice cream shakes. So you put those three things together, and it was. I wanted to do the chef's kiss and be like, "Mwah," to whoever made it, because it was so good.
Nice.
We made our way over to Japan and got the frushi, of course, because you can't skip that. I mean, come on, it's amazing. Germany, surprisingly, was one of our favorite things because they had those potato pancakes, and I think we talked about them on our food episode. And Kara and my other kids like the ones with the applesauce on it, and then I like the ones with the sour cream and ham. So you get a little bit of the sweet one, you get the savory one. Those are really good too. And then for dinner that night, we went to Tepanito, and there. I don't know if have you guys been to Tepanito? Okay, so it's like
it's one of my favorite places to go before races because you get your protein and your carbs and
it's relatively healthy too. Yeah, because I mean, you got rice for the carbs. Yeah, it's so good. So I got we went there, and there was these two guys. I felt so bad for him. It was a dad and his son, and his son was probably in his 20s, and the dad's, I don't know, 50-ish or something. And then they're stuck at a table with me and my 20 million children taking up the rest of the table. Luckily, my kids were pretty good, so it wasn't too bad. But
they probably had a great time.
Yeah.
Okay, so John, I'm curious. So pretty much all day at Epcot, the only ride that your children went on was Figment.
That day, yeah. Yep.
But they were totally fine with just running around the park and just seeing everything and doing everything. I mean,
we love World Showcase.
I'm thinking of your two littles in particular,
well, so Crosby just kind of slept in the stroller. Then Carly and Chelsea, they just had fun, like seeing the countries and getting ice cream bars and
Did you
snacks.
go to the new playset area right by Connections Creations?
No, we didn't.
Whatever the I can't forget. Because that's
I know
place
where it's at. Oh, we did go to Club Cool, which was pretty cool because it's in a new location now. We always get the Beverly just to do it.
Just it's almost like your children.
It's like a challenge. But we all loved the cucumber Sprite from, I think, Russia is where it's from. But yeah, it's so fun to go in there. But they moved it, so I don't know.
Love it.
Yeah, it's so cool because it's free. You get like free samples of Coke from all over the world, and it's just really neat. I don't know. It's one of those things where
stick to the floor.
Yeah. So I feel like the new one isn't quite as gross as the old one in terms of stickiness, but it might be. Maybe I was just in a really good mood too. I don't know. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was fun going in there with the kids and just trying everything and talking about the countries that it's from and stuff. But yeah, so we went to Tepanito for dinner. I got one of my favorite drinks on the planet, which is a sochu squeeze, which is sochu is like a mountain yam based fermented liquor, kind of like a vodka made from mountain yams, I guess, for lack of a better description. And they give you half of a grapefruit and you just squeeze it right there at the table into the sochu, and it's amazing. It's something I had when I was in Tokyo and I just fell in love with it, and the only place I get it is Disney. I don't know why I don't do it at home, but I don't. It's like the special drink. Oh my gosh, it's so refreshing, and it's not like it's super, super strong or anything. It's just like a nice, refreshing, almost like a sparkling grapefruit drink. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
I hate grapefruit, so I would not be ordering it.
Oh, well, yeah.
But
then you wouldn't like that.
For those of you who like grapefruit.
Yeah, and then I got the shrimp and steak because they're delicious, and then that yum yum sauce is amazing. So after that, we went back to our hotel room, and my mother-in-law had gotten into town at that point. And then we were at Copper Creek. We were looking over the pool, and we could see over the other side of Wilderness Lodge the Happily Ever After fireworks. And it happened to be the first night that Happily Ever After was back after, the last couple of years. Yeah. So, I mean, there's me out on the balcony holding Crosby, and I'm just like crying because my favorite show is back, or, everything emotional with our family that's been going on for the last 13 months or so. And my mother-in-law's like, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine. Just go." And I'm standing out on the balcony, and you could hear the music, and you could actually see the fireworks fairly well from there. I mean, the building was blocking a lot of it, but I mean, for not being in the park and everything, it was actually a pretty good view, and they pipe in the music all over the resort, so that was awesome because you could hear it really well.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it was just really special to me to get to see the first night back of my favorite show. So just another one of those random things that went perfectly right for us on the trip. So that was cool. And I mean, our room was, I have 5 kids and my mother-in-law and me. So we had to get a 2-bedroom. And man, it's going to be hard going back to a normal hotel room ever again. Because the room at Copper Creek was beautiful. It was just everything was my style. It was like their kitchen is set up just like my kitchen with similar handles and cabinets and everything. So it was pretty awesome just being there. But yeah, so we
Did you
watched
cook
Happily
it
Ever
all
After.
in your, because you had a whole kitchen in there. Did you do any like breakfast or meals or
No.
anything in there? No.
I mean, we did like cereal in the morning. I bought like Cheerios and milk and stuff like that for the kids. But I don't like cooking on vacation. I don't like doing dishes. I don't like any of that. I'm going down there to relax and have fun. So I want to try to experience new foods and that type of thing. So we've never been good about cooking meals in the rooms. But, we usually had a pretty quick breakfast and just kind of ate bananas and cereals and stuff like that and then left. But yeah, so gosh, it was just such an amazing way to end that first night though, seeing the fireworks and stuff and being able to have Crosby with me and all of that. So because when he went, his only time he went in February of 22, it was Enchantment and it wasn't Happily Ever After. So that was his first experience with Happily Ever After. I'm sure he's going to remember that the rest of his life.
It is. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So then the kids went to bed and stuff, and the next morning we woke up and went to Animal Kingdom was our next day. So that day I actually bought Genie Plus because I bought it solely for the safari. So basically my mother-in-law had never been to Disney, and that was one of the things that I thought she'd really, really enjoy. And it's one of our family's favorite things too, because God, it's so much better than being at like your local zoo where you see the animals from 20 yards, 30 yards away, right? You're right in there. The giraffes like basically come up to the vehicle. So that was really cool because that worked out perfect where we were able to get that early, like kind of right before lunch, and then we got Everest as well for me and Kara, my oldest daughter, because that's one of our favorite rides to go on together.
So you
So
did a hairband?
yeah, she always does the hairband, like a
Yeah.
flick it and adds it to the pile. I don't know how that started or what it's from or how she even knew about it, but she's just every time we've gone, she's brought extra hairbands so she can fire one off. So yeah, so that was cool. And then oh my god, we went to Tusker House for lunch. We've only ever done breakfast there. This was our first lunch there. It was amazing. The salmon there, me, Kara, and Patty, my mother-in-law, all thought it was the best salmon we've ever had.
Did you ask Crosby his favorite salmon?
Crosby's favorite salmon was what you made us, Jody. Which actually I think that's true because he ate a ton of it.
He did eat watermelon and salmon. He
Yeah.
ate a ton of salmon. I've never seen a baby eat so much salmon before in my life.
Well, it's one of the few things that everybody in our house likes, so we make it pretty frequently here. But yeah, it was. I mean, like, and just the variety of foods there is really cool because you have curry stuff, you have different African-inspired dishes, and
And do they have character meats at lunch too?
they do, yeah, yeah. So it was like Safari Donald and Daisy and Mickey and Minnie, I think.
And what
Maybe
did your mother-in-law think of that? Because that was probably her first time with characters and all that.
Yeah, she talked about the food being really good. So she seemed to like it. Um, you know, she yeah, she liked it. She enjoyed it. She helped a lot with the baby while we were there too, which was good because then I could actually eat instead of just, getting everyone food all the time. So it was nice having another adult there. But yeah, she seemed to really enjoy it. So yeah, that it was just such a good meal that I would definitely go back for lunch again to Tusker House just because of you get to try so many different things, which is really cool to me.
Mhm.
Because it's not your typical buffet that's going to have just chicken fingers and macaroni and cheese or whatever. So yeah, so it was really fun. But then, we walked over through Pandora just to kind of show my mother-in-law that area and stuff, but we couldn't get another pass to ride a ride until later in the day, and everybody was kind of hot and that type of thing. So we went to the bird show, which Feathered Friends in Flight or something, but that's if you haven't done that, it's so much fun. Like birds fly right over your head where you can feel the wind from their wings flapping, and they have audience participation. It's just a really cool show. Plus you get out of the heat and get in the shade for a half hour. So that part was awesome too. Just taking a break and sitting down for a little bit. But yeah, overall it was such a fun day. And then after that, we headed back to the hotel because it was hot and everybody was kind of tired. Animal Kingdom there's not really a lot of shade and it's not as much breeze. But that night we went to Kona. So we went over to the Polynesian again because why not, right? But my mother-in-law stayed back because she was I think the heat really got to her. But it was nice because then me and the kids got to have a fun dinner together. So I got the tuna poke bowl and a spicy tuna roll because, YOLO and you're at Disney. And dinner was delicious. And the kids, I don't know what got into them, but they got along the whole trip. There was very little like yelling at each other. Usually we go out to a restaurant around here and you just have kids like, I want to sit here, I want to sit there, yelling at each other. And it didn't get any of that. So that was another magical moment. Just kids getting along for hours at a time. But yeah, and then I got the Easter Dole Whip from the Pineapple Lanai downstairs, and that was a pink vanilla ice cream with toasted marshmallow flavor in it. Yeah,
that was good.
Yep,
It's like a peep.
it was as good as it sounds. It was amazing.
Yeah, Kevin, you're right. It is like a peep.
Oh, maybe that's why they came up with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was really good. But then we just went back to the hotel and kind of chilled out, and I walked around a little bit and the kids went to bed, and yeah, so that was a good end to the night. And then so the next day then we went to Magic Kingdom. So Magic Kingdom, we did buy Genie Plus because it's spring break and you were never going to get on a ride. But to be honest, the wait times were not bad. I mean, Peter Pan and Seven Dwarfs were hour and a half or whatever, but wait times were less than an hour, I think, on almost every ride. So it really wasn't bad. We waited in line for the Mad Hatter Tea Party like 15 minutes. We went to Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor because that's just right up my alley. It's just a half hour.
Best.
Yeah.
So
it's like a half hour, 20 minutes, whatever it is of dad jokes. It's perfect.
yeah, that's right.
We went to the Enchanted Tiki Room because we wanted to get out of the heat. We let's see, we went on Peter Pan and Seven Dwarves. We did Winnie the Pooh. So those were all ones my kids loved. But the highlight of the day for me was two things. One, we went on Tron.
Nice.
So I've been on Tron before in Shanghai, but the rest of my family had never been on it. So I went on by myself, and then my mother-in-law and my oldest daughter went on it together, and the picture of them is amazing. It just looks like they're both having so much fun, and they got off the ride and they were pumped, and it worked out so well. It was really cool. And then so then after that we went to Haunted Mansion, and that's where things kind of went a little downhill. We were in line, had just got past the stretching room, and the ride broke down. So we're standing there for like 10 minutes, and all of a sudden Crosby just throws up on my mother-in-law. Just all over the front of her shirt. I think it was just heat and food that he doesn't normally eat. So that was a little bit rough. So then we went back to the hotel for a little bit, and I took them back and my son Caleb, who was kind of just done with everything for the day. But we got them back to the hotel and then came back for the Happily Ever After dessert party, which, if you are able to do that, to me, it's the ideal way to see the fireworks show, because what they do is they bring you down in the hub. They have those two little parks on either side of the hub. The one that's closer to Tomorrowland Terrace is where they bring you and seat you. So you're right in front of the castle. You've got a perfect view. And then now they've added in all of the Main Street projections, and you can see those pretty well too. So it's like the perfect thing. So it ended up being just me and my 3 daughters, and it was just this like super fun, super cute daddy-daughter date night. We had, so many desserts. They had wine there for adults. They had pop for the kids and stuff, and like pog juice.
And John, were they accommodating with allergies there too? So
They are. It's not quite as good as some of the restaurants. Yeah, they bring your own plate. Yeah, so they brought us out a plate with like different types of like lemon loaf bread that was gluten free, and fruit and some chocolates and stuff. So it was really good. We actually ended up asking them for seconds on a couple of the things like the fruit stuff, and they brought it right out. So they were good about that. And then they had beer and wine for adults, so I got to have a couple of glasses of wine. My kids got the pog juice like they have at Polynesian. So it was just really a cool experience. We try to do it every trip just because I love the fireworks, but I don't like crowds and I don't like waiting. So it's one of those things.
Used to be.
Yeah.
I've done it once too, and it was really worth it. I think definitely worth looking into.
Yeah, for sure. And they sell out quick. So luckily I went through a travel agent. So I used our friend Ben Lappin from Magic for Less. He's a lizard. He ran the marathon with most of us. Just a really, really good guy. And he happened to be out of town that week on a cruise, so he couldn't do much from the travel agent side, but he had Julie Banwart, who is also a lizard, covering for him. And Julie was awesome. She kept emailing me that morning. She's like, all right, the party's being released tomorrow morning. Here, give me all your info. And then and then the next morning she got it all set up for me. So
talk about a great group of people. I mean, I just can't
amazing.
say enough about that whole team.
That whole group.
Yeah.
They're all phenomenal. Really phenomenal.
Yeah. And I mean, it started with, I reached out to Ben, like, hey, like kind of as a friend, like, is this worth it for you to just get me Disney tickets? And he's like, yeah, sure. I'll get them for you, whatever. Cause I'm like, if I'm going to buy them anyway, I might as well give a friend the commission. But he ended up providing me so much more value than that, because we were DVC stay. So there was no package or hotel or anything, but, he ended up helping me with Universal too, and looked at a bunch of different packages and helped me figure out the best option for my family, which ended up being, a smaller room at the Premier Resort instead of a suite at like Cabana Bay or whatever. But yeah, I mean, those guys, they really know what they're doing, and it doesn't cost you anything. So
they care a lot too. They care a lot about that you have a good time. So
yeah, and I think that's the best part about it, is like just the fact that they worry so much about or not, worry is not a good idea or a good word to use, but they care so much, like you said, Kevin, about making sure you have a great trip. And so yeah, I would, if I was ever going down again without staying at DVC, or if I'm going to Universal or something, I would go through a travel agent 100%, because it just takes all the headache away, all the signing into Disney at 6:45 in the morning and refreshing every 10 minutes or whatever. So yeah, so it worked out great, because she was able to get me tickets to that. And like I said, my mother-in-law and my son didn't end up coming to the dessert party, and it's completely non-refundable. But I talked to the cast member there and kind of just explained it, and she's like, "All right, we'll give you a refund." And that was it. They didn't even really like question it too much. It was just, okay, as long as they don't show up, we'll give you the refund. And then the next day I had the refund back in my on my card. So
well, I mean, listen, people get sick, right? Like it's hot. We're coming from Michigan where it was like 20, and now you're down in Florida where it's like 90 with humidity, and it's been long days, and like you said, you're eating weird food, and I mean, it happens, right? Like it's and you're not expecting it, but it's nice that they do that, because it's not, quite frankly, that dessert party probably cost them
nothing.
$7. Really. It's but what you're paying for is the seating and the opportunity to be out of the crowd. So what's it to them to refund the money? And here you are talking about how nice it was of them. And you're spreading that good message, as opposed to saying, oh, they were, and kind and would help me. I mean, you didn't expect for them to do it, but it was nice of them to be able to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's what helped too, is I kind of approached it that way, like, you know what? Hey guys, here's what happened. Is there any way you could do something for me? And they're like, oh yeah, we'll refund it. So it's just nice when you're kind to the cast members, they're a lot more willing to help you than if I would have gone in there and been like, your heat in Florida caused my mother-in-law to get sick, and now, I need my money back.
I always go and ask for the manager. First thing I do.
Like, I don't want to deal with you. Give me your manager.
I don't deal with peasants. Manager.
Yeah. Yep.
People
That's
it goes both ways. You treat people with respect, and they'll treat you with respect.
Real.
Yeah.
For real.
And to be honest, one of the things, like, just, oh man, the whole trip, the cast members were unbelievably awesome, but so were the other guests. Like, it was when I was trying to get my whole family back to the hotel, people on the bus were offering to help me with my stroller because they saw me with 5 kids kind of struggling a little bit. But and I mean, that's like, I'm an easy target because I'm a big guy and I have a whole squadron of humans with me.
Heard.
So people feel bad for me. But then I saw people like helping each other out too, that it was just one of those things where the parks were crowded, it was hot, and you expect people to kind of be kind of in bad moods and stuff, which is what I've seen in the past. But this was some other, I don't know if I was just looking for the good in people this trip, but there was so much kindness shown by cast members and between guests, that it was one of those things that was like, the world's a good place. You look at it and you say, this is really uplifting. So that was really cool to see. But then that night after the fireworks show, I took my daughters back to the hotel. Magic Kingdom was open till 1 a.m. I had a Tron boarding group for the first boarding group of the 11 o'clock set. And I got back to the hotel room at like 10:30. And I told my daughter, I'm like, you guys are going to bed. Grandma's here. I'm going to meet up with my buddy Scott. So Scott Nyman, who's also a lizard, he was there with 3 of his 4 kids, and he had a boarding group for the same time. Well, I wasn't paying attention to my phone, and the boarding group got called, and it was, instead of being at 11 to 12, it was 10:34 to 11:34. So then I'm like, shoot, I gotta go. So I run down to the boat, and of course I have to wait for the boat. And then that late at night, the boats aren't direct back and forth to the park. It went to the Contemporary and then to the park. And so I ended up getting in line at 11:40, which was like 6 minutes past my time. And the cast member just looked at me. He's like, yeah, you're fine, man. Just go ahead. And I didn't even have to like show him the time on my thing or anything. I was just like, I'm sweating. I had like speed walk through the park. Like, hey, I just got here. I missed my time. He's like, don't worry about it. And just let me go. So that was amazing too. And then Scott and his kids had waited at the end for me. And then we got some pictures together, and then we went and rode 7 Dwarves and Space Mountain. And it was just cool hanging out with them. And then I went and did Haunted Mansion finally by myself right before 1 a.m. So I was one of the last people to ride it that day. And it was just so cool. And then walking out of the park with nobody in the park
That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. There was no lines though for anything.
John, I do have a little question to ask you. I think you forgot an important sighting that you had at the bus.
I did. When we checked in on Sunday, we were getting ready to head to Disney Springs, and I was standing there trying to herd all my children and make sure they don't get run over by a bus. And all of a sudden, my son goes, Dad, some guy is standing right behind you. And I turn around, and there's Lonnie Gaines.
Creepy. What a
Yeah. It was a little, yeah. He I can see how he photobombs everyone now because he's very sneaky. And so I got to meet his wife, and we talked for a few minutes. And then luckily, Lonnie was paying attention because I wasn't. He's like, isn't that your bus getting ready to leave for Disney Springs? I'm like, oh my God, we got to go. So I ran over there. And luckily, the bus driver stopped and waited for us. And then as soon as we got on, she took off. But yeah, it was pretty cool seeing Lonnie, even if it was just for 5 minutes. So that was fun.
That is fun.
Yeah. So yeah, it was nice. I got to see a couple of friends down there, and yeah. But yeah, I got home back to the resort from Magic Kingdom about 1:30, 1:40, something like that.
Man, you're like a teenager.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. When I'm I am very when I'm at Disney, I want to use every second I possibly can. So that worked out perfect. But yeah, so then the next morning was really our last day kind of in the parks and stuff. We went to Epcot again. And then just did same thing, but we had my mother-in-law with us. So we went back to all the food booths. Got another of those whiskey shakes because they were delicious. Several buckets of maple popcorn. Um, and then we did Test Track and Club Cool again. So Test Track is cool because I work for GM and we get a kind of a guaranteed fast pass for the ride. So there's a little lounge there, and then they give you a pass. They just walk you right up to the fast pass lane and then lightning lane and let you through. And we happened to be walking by, and my daughter saw one of her best friends and her parents in line, and I'm like, oh my god, what are you guys doing? So they had only been in line luckily like 20 minutes, but it was an hour and a half wait. So I'm like, come on, you can come with us. We'll just tell them you're with us. And then they were able to miss the line and go in with Kara and ride the ride. So that was really cool because Kara got to ride it with one of her best friends. So that was really neat. And then we went to back to Wilderness Lodge and went to Artist Point for dinner. And that's one of my favorite.
Hold on. It's one of your kids' favorites. It's either Carly or Chelsea's favorite.
It's Carly's.
Carly's.
Yeah, she loves Snow White. So it's just really cool because you see the Evil Queen, you see Dopey and Grumpy. I can't remember what other dwarves are there, but yeah, and the food is really good. Like I got the prime rib and I love it. So it was a really good experience, and they have cool drinks, and just like the kids even got mocktails that had blue cotton candy in them, and just way too much sugar for a kid at 5 in the evening, 6 in the evening, but it was worth it. So it was a nice way to finish out the portion of the trip that my mother-in-law was on, because we were able to just have a nice little family dinner, and it was really fun. It was just a good time. There was really the service was great as usual there, and then after that we just went in the pool for the rest of the night. So so it was fun. And then so my mother-in-law's flight the next morning was at 7:30. So they were picking her up at 4:30. Yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, don't worry, Patty. I'm gonna set my alarm. I'll make sure you get up. Ooh. I slept right through my 3:30 alarm. Luckily, she still got up and she was gone. She texted me later. It was like, yeah, I heard your alarm going off, but I wasn't gonna wake you up. Thank you very much for that. So we got up and just kind of packed everything up. We had Ohana breakfast that day. So our third trip to the Poly on this trip. And God, that is such a fun breakfast. Because for one, Mickey waffles, right? I mean, can't go wrong there. But you also get to meet Lilo, Stitch, Mickey in his Hawaiian shirt. And then we told Lilo and Stitch that we had cats named after them, and they loved it. So they got real excited, gave us all high fives and stuff. It was so cute. And then, after that, we went over to Disney Springs, did some shopping, went to Raglan Road for the first time. It was cool. I really need to go there at night though, Kevin, when they have the bands and stuff.
A good band,
yeah, but it was still fun. As someone who can't normally eat fish and chips, that was a highlight of the trip for me, was being able to eat delicious fish and chips from there. And
that's great.
Yeah. And Caleb has been on a steak kick. So luckily he ordered the steak, which is the most expensive thing on the menu. Took a bite of it and was like, no, I don't like this one. Oh, thanks, buddy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I didn't think to have it prepared gluten-free for me. So it had like a sauce on it and stuff. So then I still had to buy him a side of mac and cheese. So that was exciting.
Hey, so I want to just point a clarification here, John. So your mother-in-law, you drove a certain amount of time, you and just the kids.
Yep.
And then you picked your mother-in-law up. She met you. She flew.
She met us down there. Yeah. Right? And we had
we
used Mears Connect for her.
Right. And then she flew, and then you drove back. So at significant parts of this vacation, it was you and 5 kids.
Yeah. For about half of it overall.
So do they listen to this podcast?
Actually, Carly likes to watch it on YouTube. She gets excited.
Well, Carly, don't listen to this part. But hey, like, so I'm sure you run a tight ship. They can mutiny at any time. They outnumber you, man. That's scary. But hey, more power to you, man. That's awesome. I actually, all jokes aside, I love it, man. I've told you this before. What a great dad you are, man. I think it's such a great thing that you did. And I think the ambition, man, the bravery, the courage, the intestinal fortitude that you had to take that trip, over all those many miles with you and the 5 kids, and then back with it. It's awesome. I love it.
Dude, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was one of the best vacations we've ever had. We just didn't worry about anything.
Yeah.
There was no stress. We didn't care about time or rides or anything. We just wanted to be there. And, normally we get on a ton of rides because I'm like, we have to be here. We have to be here. We got our fast passes. And this time we didn't do that. We just, hey, when we wake up, we go. And if we get on a ride, great. If we don't, great. We'll take in the environment and just enjoy the smells and the food and everything else.
So what was Crosby's reaction? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kevin. Sorry.
As Lonnie always says, you packed your patience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's what it was. It was just no expectations. We didn't push it in terms of schedule or anything. And I didn't get frustrated that I couldn't do everything. So all of that kind of combined into the kids really enjoying it. And now they all want to go back again. And they want to do beach vacations too. So it worked out awesome. But Jody, you had a question too?
I was just going to say, so obviously Crosby couldn't go on a lot of rides, but I'm guessing maybe Figment and Winnie the Pooh and stuff. What was his reaction? I always think little kids, when you take them on stuff like that, it's just so.
He didn't even really seem to notice. It was kind of a bummer. He was just like, he slept through. It was so hot though. He's not used to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but he did awesome. He was content just chilling in the stroller and, kind of walking around and that type of thing. So he did really well. He even did well in the car, which was surprising for an active 18-month-old. Yeah. So I mean, it was great. And like I said, the biggest thing to me was just the Disney magic really felt like it was back. The cast members were all just at the top of their game, like they used to be 3, 4, 5 years ago before the pandemic and everything. I don't know if it was, I learned afterwards they, negotiated their union contract and got a nice raise and stuff like that right before we got there. So maybe that was part of it, but I think they've
quite a bit. I mean, even when we were there in January, it was like night and day difference. I mean, they just seem to enjoy what they're doing, and people kind of reciprocate that too. So
yeah, and that was the thing. Like, I didn't see anybody being mean to cast members. Nobody was getting snippy. It was just nice. Like, you saw the good side of humanity, which sometimes you don't, especially when it's hot and it's crowded and everything else. But yeah, the lines were not too bad. The crowds, I mean, it was busy. There was people shoulder to shoulder, like there is on, when the parks don't have any passes available anymore. But even with that, it was so enjoyable. I would definitely, though, recommend buying Genie Plus, especially now that I've learned how to work it. But that used to be like, I think $17 last time we went. This time it was $35 a person.
wow.
When you have 7 people, that is, it's a little bit tough to swallow. But, I just kind of made the decision that, what are you going to do, right? We want to have fun, and we want certain rides, and it's worth paying that a couple of days. So we did it. It really, I think the most beneficial was at, it made most sense at Magic Kingdom. We were able to get so many rides and so many, what are they called? Lightning lane things and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Animal Kingdom, it was worth it just because we wanted to go on safari so bad. But I don't think you really would have needed that unless, if you didn't mind waiting in the line for the safari, which was back by Tusker House. It was 2 hours, but yeah. So, I mean, that was one of those once in a lifetime things for my mother-in-law that I thought was worth it for, and the kids love it too. But yeah, and then Epcot, we didn't need it at all. It just wasn't, we weren't there for the rides other than Guardians.
Did they do the Agent P, or not the Agent P, but the DuckTales game at all in Epcot?
No, we didn't do that. No, I didn't even think of that, to be honest. I
Landon's
probably
really
should.
excited about that this summer. He's ready to take that on.
Yeah, they probably would have enjoyed it actually, but I was too focused on the food booths. So, food booths and Figment really all I wanted.
Yeah.
And Guardians, but no, Epcot was God, it's just so fun during the festivals. You see the topiaries and everything, and they had a lot of really cool flower and garden merchandise, which was neat to see. So yeah, it was overall, it was God, it was just such an amazing trip, and I think our family really needed it, because
Yeah.
just everything we've gone through the last year or two has been rough, and it was just good to get out and do something fun. And like I said, I don't know why the kids got along, but they did. So it was some type of magic being worked.
It was great to follow along and hear all about that the whole time, all the good things happening and all the ways things are working out and the attitudes everybody had. And, it was really, really good to follow along and see all those things. It made me happy to see y'all having such a great time,
Yeah, and that was the thing. We really did. Like, I enjoyed being with them so much. And not that I don't at home, but you kind of, like it just
You're on it's a different scale. It's a different thing. I mean,
yeah.
it's a different setting, and you're more relaxed. You don't have the day-to-day grind going on, and
Yeah.
y'all really did need that. I'm so glad you got to do that.
Yeah, it was amazing. But now I've almost talked myself into buying more DVC points because we want to go more often. So, it may have ended up being a very, very expensive trip.
That's how they get you. That's how
I know how that works.
Yeah. So no, it was overall an amazing trip. We had fun. Kids did well, and everything kind of worked out, and it was amazing. So yeah, some good family time.
Good stuff.
Yeah. All right. You guys have any other questions or anything about the amazing fun Krull family trip?
No, it was fun to follow along with you on your adventure.
Good. All right. Well, then I guess if we're not going to talk anymore about that trip, we can get into another fun segment of the show and talk about making people giggle, which, as you guys all know, I mean, I enjoy giggling. It's one of my favorite things. So, Kevin, do you think you can make us laugh?
I don't know about that, but I'll try something. So it's kind of upsetting. You used to be able to go to gas stations when you need to air your tires up when the weather starts warming up and stuff, and your tires are all low, and they charge you $1 now. I mean, that's inflation for you.
Love it. That's amazing. Gene, what's going on fun in your life?
He doesn't have a joke.
I don't have a joke, but so I don't know if you heard about this. I was watching Dr. Phil the other day, and there was this teenage nut, and she giving her parents all kinds of problems and sneaking out and inappropriate stuff on social media, and people were calling out, and Dr. Phil's calling her out, and I couldn't even believe what she said. She looked Dr. Phil right in the eyes. She said, "Cashew outside." How about that?
Oh man, only a certain group of people who have seen that young lady will get that, but I love it. Catch me outside. How about that?
Cashew outside. How about that?
Oh man. All right, Jody. That's a high bar.
I know.
Is it though?
Yes. Both of those jokes were good.
I know. I don't even want to give one now. So Earth Day is coming up, which we, in our house, we're reduce, reuse, recycle. Everything gets composted. We're pretty crazy about it. So I've been looking for Earth Day jokes for my son because, I put a joke in his lunchbox every day, which is kind of hard to find, by the way, if you're ever looking for those. But the one, it's not even good, but I thought it made me laugh. So how do you know if the ocean is friendly? It waves.
It waves.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's not the tofu joke, John. Don't worry.
Wait, the tofu one. The license plate?
Yeah.
Yep. That's a good one, but we would lose our family rating.
Yes, that's not
for that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. I like grammar. Not a ton, but a little bit. So I found this joke. Did you hear about the semicolon that broke the law? It was handed 2 consecutive sentences. Oh boy.
That's
Okay.
good.
Uh,
Yeah.
whew. All right. Well, if you guys made it this long, you got congratulations for sticking with us. But if you like what you're hearing, make sure you go to our Disney with the Ducks Facebook group, and you can join in on some of the discussions, and make sure you guys are posting pictures of your trips and sharing some of your plans and that type of stuff, because it's always fun to, when we can't be at Disney, get to see other people enjoying Disney. And hopefully you've liked us doing a few trip reports and things like that to bring some of that magic to you. And if you like what you're hearing, go to your podcatcher of choice and leave us a 5-star review. And just, you can talk about how amazing we are and how funny we are, and all of that, so that other people can find us too. Because we want to bring this magic to as many people as possible and just get people engaged, because it's fun. I've been looking forward to this for the last couple of days, just talking to all you guys, and it's a good discussion to have, and it makes me happy. And I think all of us, it makes us happy to just get together and record a conversation with friends.
Absolutely.
So with all that, and it's getting late here in the Detroit area, and I think for Gene it's a little bit earlier, but for all of us it's a little late. So we'll just say Kwaherini and have a good evening.
Bye, friends.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. See you later.